It's December 17th, 2021 in Jeanerette, Louisiana, and the Christmas spirit is in full force at the Simmons home. Ray and Dawn Simmons, parents of 9, were enjoying time with their youngest 3, 15-year-old KAMRYN, 17-year-old Christopher, and 20-year-old LINDY. KAMRYN and Christopher, who were both still in high school, only had a half day of school. LINDY was home from college, and Dawn had taken a half day off from the post office where she worked. Their Christmas tree was proudly standing in the living room, and the presents were starting to pile high. This was bound to be the best Christmas yet. To add to the excitement, Christopher, who was a junior, had a basketball game in Monroe, Louisiana later that evening, which was a 4-hour drive from their home. Because of the holiday, the school wasn't offering transportation to the game, so Dawn happily agreed to drive. They packed up the car and headed towards Monroe. Dawn, KAMRYN, Christopher, LINDY, and Christopher's girlfriend, 16-year-old Marissa, were off to the game. The game was incredible, and Christopher's team destroyed their opponent 65-18, which just added to the excitement of the day. After the game, the crew loaded back up and headed home, southbound on I-49. Not long after hitting the road, the kids told their mom they were hungry and asked if they could stop at Subway, which of course Dawn did, as she would stop the earth from rotating for her children. Unfortunately, this was a decision that would change the course of fate. Unbeknownst to them, just before 9 p.m., 54-year-old John Lundy pulled onto the highway driving northbound in the southbound lane of I-49. Not only that, he was driving 90 miles an hour with a blood alcohol level of more than 3 times the legal limit. A witness called police to warn them about what was happening, and for nearly 7 miles, the witness drove parallel to John Lundy, helplessly watching multiple cars nearly collide with him. The Simmons, blissfully enjoying their drive home, had no idea what was about to happen. Moments later, John Lundy's 2005 black Chevy Colorado hit the Simmons' 2017 red Cadillac XT5 head-on, causing both cars to erupt in flames. So police and EMS arrive soon after the crash, and at 10:29 p.m., Dawn's husband and the children's father, Ray Simmons, received a call stating there had been a terrible wreck and that his wife had been transported to Lafayette General Hospital. Immediately, Ray alerted their other family members, including their oldest daughter, Katie, who happened to be at a Christmas party. "Mom got in a wreck. It's not looking good, but she's stable," the text said. As Katie headed towards Lafayette General, she couldn't help but wonder where her siblings and Christopher's girlfriend Marissa were. They soon learned that Marissa, too, had been taken to Lafayette General. She was in terrible condition with serious injuries, but was expected to survive. For hours, the Simmons family struggled to understand where their youngest 3 family members were and what condition they were in. Finally, they received a call from a state trooper stating that a young, blonde driver had died in the wreck and someone needed to go identify her. Knowing LINDY was driving, this is how they learned that LINDY, who had just landed her dream job as a photographer, had passed away. Katie dropped to her knees in the parking garage of Lafayette General and screamed out in pain. The family still didn't know where Christopher and KAMRYN were, though. They called Lafayette General Hospital, Baton Rouge General Hospital, Lourdes Hospital, Lady of the Lake Hospital, Mercy Regional Hospital, Lady of the Lakes Children's Hospital, Acadia Medical Center, Bunkie General Hospital. They were nowhere to be found. Finally, after hours of looking, Opelousas General Hospital confirmed they had a victim of a car crash that Katie could come look at. When they arrived, the nurse explained that the person they had died. Katie walked into the room, fully expecting to see LINDY, since they were already aware of her death. But to her absolute horror, it wasn't LINDY. It was 15-year-old KAMRYN, the youngest of the family. There, little KAMRYN lay in a white body bag with 2 broken legs, 2 broken arms, and a broken neck. KAMRYN, the sweetest, most kind soul who loved playing softball and being silly, was dead. Katie begged the nurse to help her find LINDY and Christopher. She knew they would be so scared by themselves in the hospital when they woke up. So the nurse agreed and excused himself to go make a few calls. 2 minutes later, he came back and said there's a young gentleman at Bunkie General. "Thank God," Katie said. "I'll head over to him now." The nurse stared back at her and quietly told Katie that Christopher was dead too. He then finished the uppercut to Katie's face by confirming that 20-year-old Lindy had never even made it to a hospital. She had died at the scene of the accident. In the literal blink of an eye, 3 young, promising lives were taken from this earth. A mother of 9 lay in an ICU, and a 16-year-old girl was in serious condition, all because a man decided to drive drunk. They soon learned the extent of Dawn's injuries. A fractured right wrist, her right leg was broken in 5 places below the knee, a shattered left ankle, collapsed lung, lacerated spleen, and a broken finger. 2 days pass, and in between her multiple surgeries and slipping in and out of awareness, Dawn would ask about her 3 youngest, but she could never get a straightforward answer because, quite frankly, no one wanted to tell her that not 1, not 2, but 3 of her children, her youngest at that, had been killed. But finally, Dawn had had enough of the elusiveness and forced her family to tell her the truth. It's then, laying in the hospital bed, that she learned Christopher, KAMRYN, and Lindy were all dead. To this day, Dawn does not remember a single moment of the night after they left Subway, which was 2 hours before the accident. The driver, who was more than 3 times the legal limit, also died in the wreck. He was ejected from his vehicle and found wearing only his underwear underneath his truck. Police stated that all 5 victims in the Simmons vehicle were wearing seatbelts and none were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. In another tragic twist to this story, an 86-year-old man named Billy Lee died after hitting a parked police car that was diverting traffic away from the Simmons accident. Despite the family's overwhelming grief, Dawn and her oldest daughter, Katie, started a nonprofit called Simmons 3, where they travel around the state, sharing their story at different high schools, warning students about the dangers of drunk driving. December is Drunk Driver Awareness Month. Please remember, it is never okay to drink and drive.